when time stops asking your permission. There is a kind of discipline that feels cold to watch. It does not explain itself. It does not adjust. It shows up at the same hour, regardless of weather, mood, or consequence. People sense it before they understand it. They feel it in the room, in the silence that arrives on time. Most people believe discipline is powered by desire. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the right energy. They wait for the mind to agree. That waiting is where the fracture begins. You can see it in the body, hands hesitating, breath shallow, eyes scanning for excuses that sound reasonable enough to delay. Morning after morning, the pattern repeats. An alarm rings. The room is cold. The floor shocks the soles of the feet. The body knows what time it is, but the mind starts bargaining anyway. Just today. Just this once. The shoulders sink as the decision stretches longer than it should. Somewhere else, someone else has already started moving. Ancient warriors did not call this weakness. They called it excess choice. Too many doors. Too much negotiation. In old temples and training halls, time was fixed so the self could stop arguing. When the bell sounded, knees met the floor. When the sun rose, the sword was lifted. The body learned before the mind could interfere. Fixed time does something quiet and severe. It removes permission. It turns action into a fact rather than a preference. Others begin to notice. Invitations become awkward. Jokes land differently. Your absence at certain hours becomes predictable, and that predictability unsettles people who still negotiate with themselves. Before you continue, name the habit you keep delaying. Write only the time you avoid, nothing else. A person who always arrives before the excuse. There is someone like you who keeps missing the same promise. Smart. Observant. Fully aware of what needs to be done. The failure is not loud. It happens quietly, at the edge of the day, when time feels flexible and the body still feels heavy. He tells himself he will decide later. Later keeps winning. He sets an alarm. It rings. Cold air fills the lungs. Fingers fumble across the nightstand. The room is dim, unfinished. He sits up, shoulders tight, eyes half open, already negotiating. The body waits. The mind delays. Somewhere between the mattress and the floor, discipline dissolves without conflict. He does not lack information. He has read enough. Watched enough. Tried enough systems to know how this should look. The problem appears earlier than effort. It appears at the moment of choice. When time asks a question instead of giving an order, the body hesitates. Hesitation becomes habit. Watch what happens on the mornings he succeeds. The movement is faster. Shoes are already placed. Clothes feel familiar against the skin. The floor is cold, but the feet touch it anyway. There is no visible struggle. No internal speech worth remembering. He moves before thinking catches up. Those mornings feel different not because of motivation, but because something decided earlier. In places where discipline lasted longer than a lifetime, they understood this fracture. Training did not begin when someone felt prepared. It began when the hour arrived. The bell cut through sleep. Knees folded onto the mat without ceremony. Breath found its rhythm under command. Time did not care about mood, and neither did the body after enough repetition. When time is fixed, something shifts inside the nervous system. The pulse steadies. The jaw unclenches. The mind has less to argue with. Action becomes procedural. The body recognizes the hour the way it recognizes hunger or fatigue. It responds before permission is requested. Others notice before you do. Friends joke that you are rigid. Invitations avoid certain hours. Someone rolls their eyes when you leave early, coat already on, movements efficient. Social warmth cools slightly. You feel it in the room, in the pause after you decline. That pause is the cost of not negotiating anymore. The man from before senses this change creeping closer. He feels it the nights he prepares without drama. Laying out clothes. Setting tools in place. The ritual is small, almost boring. The body feels calmer afterward, as if something unresolved has been settled in advance. Morning waits for him, indifferent and exact. The question is no longer whether he can be disciplined. The question is how long he will keep letting time ask instead of command. The hour that does not listen. The bell does not care who you were yesterday. It sounds the same in rain and heat. In sickness and clarity. When it rings, the hall fills with movement that looks unremarkable from the outside. Mats receive knees. Hands reach for familiar weight. Breath shortens, then lengthens. No one asks how they feel about it. This is where modern habits fracture. Time is treated like a suggestion. A window. Something to be negotiated with the body each morning. The result is predictable. The shoulders tense before the task even begins. The jaw tightens. The mind opens a ledger of reasons. Fatigue becomes persuasive when it is allowed to speak. In places that lasted, time spoke first. The body learned its place in the order. At dawn, cold air cut into the lungs. Skin reacted to morning without complaint. The floor was unforgiving. Knees folded anyway. Repetition dulled resistance until the movement arrived before thought. The hour became a signal, not a question. Watch what happens when time is unfixed. The same action drifts later. Then later again. Shoes remain by the door, untouched. The belt stays loose. The body waits for clarity that never arrives. Each delay adds weight to the next decision. The cost is not failure, it is erosion. Fixed time removes the argument before it forms. At the same minute, every day, the hand reaches out. The grip is the same. The posture settles without instruction. Breath counts return when the mind resists. There is no triumph in this. Only familiarity. Like brushing teeth. Like closing a door. The nervous system responds to this consistency. Heart rate steadies faster. Muscles warm without complaint. The dull ache in the legs becomes background noise. Heat gathers behind the eyes, then fades. The body recognizes the pattern and prepares itself. What once felt heavy now feels inevitable. Others feel the difference without naming it. Conversations end abruptly when you stand at the same time each night. Someone laughs and says you're predictable. Another stops asking if you can stay longer. There is no confrontation, just a subtle rearranging of expectations. Your time has edges now. The hour trains more than the body. It trains the social field around you. People adjust. Some drift. Some respect the boundary without understanding it. You feel the friction when invitations collide with the fixed point. The choice is no longer yours to explain. Time has already decided. The man who used to delay notices something unsettling. On days he misses the hour, his body feels off. Restless. Slightly wrong. The shoulders stay tight. The breath never fully settles. Skipping does not feel like relief anymore. It feels like a break in order that demands correction. Fixed time has begun to invert the relationship. Discipline no longer needs force. Absence creates discomfort. Presence restores balance. The hour waits, unmoved, for the next test of whether it will be obeyed or negotiated, where negotiation quietly wins the morning. This is where most mornings collapse, not in refusal, but in discussion. The body is awake. The room is still. Cold air presses against the chest. The mind opens a small meeting that was never scheduled. Just 5 more minutes. Just today. The words feel harmless. They are not. He stands by the bed, weight shifting from one foot to the other. Calves tight. Mouth dry. The phone glows faintly in the dark. The decision stretches. Each second adds friction. Nothing dramatic happens. That is the danger. Discipline doesn't break with noise. It thins out through polite conversation. The body feels the delay immediately. Shoulders creep upward. Breath shortens. Heat gathers behind the eyes. The muscles that should be warming stay cold. The nervous system waits for a command that never arrives. Waiting becomes the posture. This posture repeats. Negotiation always sounds reasonable. That is why it works. It borrows the voice of care, of flexibility, of intelligence. It suggests adaptation when what it really wants is control. Once allowed, it returns every morning, better prepared, more convincing, harder to dismiss. In training halls that endured, this voice was never invited. Time did not ask how the night went. The bell cut through sleep. Knees folded. Hands wrapped the handle the same way. The floor was cold, you knelt anyway. Breath counts returned when the mind resisted. The sequence moved forward without comment. When choice is present, the body waits for permission. When choice is removed, the body learns the route. Repetition carves it in. The path becomes narrower. Easier to follow than to resist. The mind arrives late and finds the work already underway. Watch the social layer tighten here. When you hesitate, no one notices. When you move without delay, people pause. Someone watching from the doorway feels exposed by the lack of discussion. A joke is made to soften the moment. You don't respond. You're already moving. That silence lands heavier than argument. The man who once negotiated notices a new discomfort forming. On mornings when he delays, the rest of the day carries a low-grade tension. The jaw stays clenched. Movements feel unfinished. Something essential was skipped, and the body knows it. The mind tries to compensate with noise. Fixed time does not eliminate difficulty. It eliminates debate. The internal war ends not with victory, but with absence. No voices raised. No reasons weighed. Just the hour arriving, unchanged, waiting to see whether it will be obeyed again or tested one more time, the one way the body learns to obey. There is a moment when the system becomes visible. Not as an idea, but as a sensation. The hour arrives. The room is quiet. The body moves without asking why this is still necessary. The belt is tied before the mind starts bargaining. The door opens. Cold air hits the face. The sequence continues. This is not flexibility. It is pre-decision. Long before the morning arrives, the response has already been chosen. When rain falls, training moves indoors. When exhaustion appears, intensity drops but presence remains. When the schedule breaks, the next available slot is taken immediately. The body recognizes these turns the way it recognizes a familiar street in low light. In places that trained for decades instead of seasons, there was no contingency planning in the moment. Contingencies were decided ahead of time. The body never stood still waiting for instruction. Knees folded. Hands reached. Breath counted. The floor was cold, you knelt anyway. Variation existed, but only within the path. When systems rely on improvisation, the mind stays in charge. When systems rely on fixed responses, the mind follows. The difference shows up in the muscles. Less tension before movement. Less heat in the face. The pulse steadies faster. The body knows what comes next, and that knowledge is calming. Watch the modern version of this take shape. Shoes laid out the night before. Tools placed in the same order. Alarms set without options. The ritual is plain. Almost dull. That dullness is the signal. Nothing is being negotiated. The body appreciates this more than praise. Social friction sharpens here. Someone comments that you're inflexible. Another says you take things too seriously. The tone is light, but the message is not. Your refusal to improvise makes their own inconsistency visible. You feel the pause after your response. No explanation offered. No apology given. The room adjusts. The man who used to drift now feels irritation when the system is disturbed. Not anger. Displacement. Like a chair moved slightly out of place. He corrects it without thinking. Resets the order. The relief is immediate. Shoulders drop. Breath deepens. The day realigns. This is how the body learns obedience without force. Not through intensity, but through certainty. When X happens, Y follows. No internal debate. No creative interpretation. The system holds even when enthusiasm disappears. Especially then. Fixed time is not about control. It is about reducing exposure to chaos. The fewer decisions required at the edge of action, the less opportunity for collapse. The hour arrives again tomorrow, unchanged, waiting to see if the response has truly been learned. Continuity when the body is not at its best. Some mornings arrive damaged. Sleep was thin. The throat is raw. The legs carry a dull ache that did not leave overnight. The mirror reflects a face that looks unfinished. This is where most systems break, not from resistance, but from standards that are too clean to survive contact. He stands at the fixed hour anyway. The room feels heavier. Breath is shorter. The shoulders protest as the jacket slides on. There is no surge of readiness. That is not required. The requirement is simpler: do not break the chain. The body understands this language. In older halls, continuity mattered more than performance. A monk with fever still sat, briefly. A warrior with injury practiced footwork slowly, almost imperceptibly. A scribe wrote one line when the hand shook. The action was reduced, not removed. The river narrowed but did not stop. Perfection demands energy. Continuity demands presence. Presence is cheaper. The body can afford it even on bad days. Knees bend halfway. The grip loosens. Breath counts are fewer. The floor is still cold. You kneel anyway. The sequence holds, altered but intact. Watch the sensation shift when continuity is preserved. The initial discomfort does not vanish, but it changes character. The ache settles into background noise. Heat behind the eyes dissipates. The pulse steadies sooner than expected. The body recognizes the signal: we did not abandon this. Relief follows, quiet and physical. Social friction continues its subtle work. Someone notices you still show up when you're not at your best. They comment on your restraint, half joking, half testing. You don't correct them. You finish earlier. You leave without explanation. The room absorbs the example without discussion. The man who once skipped entirely on bad days begins to sense danger in that absence. When he breaks the chain, the cost multiplies. Restarting feels heavier than continuing at reduced intensity. The body remembers the gap. It resists returning to a rhythm that was allowed to dissolve. Continuity teaches the nervous system a deeper rule: consistency does not require heroics. It requires refusal to disappear. When the standard shifts from do it well to do not vanish, discipline becomes resilient. It bends without snapping. Fixed time supports this quietly. The hour does not demand excellence. It demands attendance. That demand is survivable even when the body is compromised. Especially then. Tomorrow's hour is already on its way, indifferent to how today felt, prepared to test whether the chain will remain unbroken, preparing for failure before it arrives. The mistake is thinking obstacles arrive announced. They do not. They slip in quietly: traffic that stalls, a meeting that runs long, a family demand that pulls at the edge of the hour. The body feels the pressure first. Shoulders tighten. Breath shortens. The familiar time approaches, and the path is blocked. Most people think here. They pause. They reassess. The mind opens another negotiation. Just today. It makes sense. The excuse fits the situation perfectly. That is why the system collapses. In places that lasted, responses were decided before disruption appeared. When rain fell, training moved indoors without comment. When travel delayed arrival, practice shortened but did not vanish. When the hour was missed, the next available slot was taken immediately. No mourning. No compensation. The chain was repaired before the break could widen. The body recognizes this decisiveness as safety. The pulse steadies faster once the alternative is clear. The jaw unclenches. Muscles release excess tension. Even when circumstances are imperfect, the nervous system relaxes because it knows what happens next. Watch this play out in modern form. A delay hits. The fixed hour passes. The body feels wrong, restless, unfinished. Instead of spiraling, he adjusts without emotion. Later that day, the door closes. The floor is cold. Knees fold. Breath counts return. The session is shorter. That is irrelevant. The sequence continues. Social friction sharpens again. Someone asks why you're doing this so late. The tone carries confusion. Maybe concern. You don't explain the system. You finish. You leave. The explanation would invite debate, and debate is the very thing being removed. Pre-decided responses turn chaos into variation, not collapse. When X happens, Y follows. The formula is simple enough for the body to remember under stress. No creativity required. No heroics expected. The mind arrives to find the decision already made. The man who once relied on improvisation feels exposed by this rigidity. He notices how much energy used to be spent deciding under pressure. The constant recalculation. The subtle anxiety. With the response fixed, that energy disappears. The body feels quieter, even when the day is not. Fixed time is not fragile. It is supported by these pre-solutions, invisible until tested. They form a perimeter around the hour, preventing erosion when life presses in. Tomorrow will bring another variation. The response is already waiting, unchanged, ready to be enacted without discussion, when the body moves before the mind objects. At some point, the change stops being theoretical. It shows up in timing. The hour arrives and the body responds before the mind finishes waking up. Feet touch the floor. The spine straightens. Hands reach for familiar weight. The sequence begins while the internal voice is still gathering its arguments. The sensation is subtle. Less tension in the neck. Breath settling sooner. The dull ache in the legs warming instead of resisting. The body feels recognized by the hour. It knows where it belongs. The mind arrives late and finds no opening to intervene. This is where people around you start to feel it. Not as admiration, but as discomfort. You leave conversations at the same minute each time. You stand without checking faces. Someone raises an eyebrow. Another makes a comment about obsession, half smiling, waiting for you to soften. You don't. You're already moving. The silence that follows lingers longer than the joke. Predictability becomes a pressure. Others feel exposed by it. Your routine creates contrast without accusation. No speeches. No standards announced. Just repeated absence at certain hours and repeated presence at others. The social field rearranges itself quietly around that fixed point. The body experiences this shift as relief. Decision fatigue disappears. There is less heat behind the eyes. The pulse steadies faster under stress. When the hour approaches, the nervous system prepares instead of debating. Preparation replaces resistance. That replacement feels like calm. Miss the hour once, and the effect is immediate. Restlessness creeps in. Movements feel unfinished. The shoulders stay slightly raised. The body knows something was skipped. The mind tries to compensate with distraction, but the sensation remains. The system has reversed its polarity. Discipline is no longer effort. Absence is. This is the signal that identity has begun to lock in. not as a belief, but as a bodily expectation. The body expects to move at that time the way it expects food or sleep. Violating that expectation creates friction. Keeping it restores order. No motivation required. Watch how this changes your relationship to difficulty. Bad days no longer threaten collapse. Delays no longer feel personal. The hour remains intact in your perception, even when circumstances bend around it. You adjust without drama. The chain holds. The body trusts you more because you are consistent with time. Others notice the trust before you articulate it. Someone hesitates before asking you to bend your schedule. Another stops trying. There is no confrontation, just a quiet understanding that certain hours are not available for negotiation. That understanding carries weight. This is why fixed time creates strong discipline. Not because it forces compliance, but because it trains expectation. The body learns what happens next. The mind loses leverage. Social pressure recalibrates. Identity settles into rhythm. Tomorrow, the hour will arrive again. It will not congratulate you. It will not care about yesterday. It will wait, exact and indifferent, to see whether the body still recognizes its place. The hour you no longer argue with. Discipline is not something you perform each morning. It is something your body expects from you. When time is fixed long enough, the argument disappears. There is no build-up. No inner speech. The hour arrives and the body answers because that is now the order of things. This is why strong discipline feels quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need reinforcement. It shows up as absence of negotiation. The floor is cold. Knees fold anyway. The breath is short. It lengthens on its own. The body moves before the mind tries to interfere. People misunderstand this. They think discipline is intensity, willpower, control. What they are really seeing is identity that has stopped debating. A person who no longer needs permission from mood, energy, or circumstance. That person unsettles rooms without saying a word. Fixed time does not make you rigid. It makes you reliable to yourself. It removes the daily trial where motivation is put on the stand and questioned until it collapses. There is no trial anymore. The verdict was decided long ago. When you break from this, the cost is immediate. Not guilt. Disorientation. The body knows when order has been disturbed. When you return, the relief is physical. Breath settles. Shoulders drop. The system closes its loop. This is the difference between trying to be disciplined and becoming disciplined. One depends on feeling ready. The other depends on time that does not ask. Comment your fixed hour. One line. No explanation. No context. Lock it in public.